Yeah, we'll go up like this.
Come on.
Yeah.
Lovely.
It's working. No?
Working. Yeah.
So I have my audio on. We're walking.
We're walking.
It's the beautiful light.
Yeah.
We're on Schiermonnikoog.
Yeah.
Having good conversations.
Of course.
Drinking.
Oh, always.
Good drinking.
Always.
Yeah, I saved this topic for you.
Yeah.
Because we have a difference of looking at it from an abstract way.
Yeah.
Capitalism versus socialism.
Oh, the best.
Now,
The best.
let me start by this. You know the game Monopoly?
I do.
What happens when the game stops? Why does the game stop?
Why does the game of Monopoly stop? It's when somebody loses all of their funds.
Yeah,
they go into debt.
and one person gets everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Then the game stops.
Sure.
So that's what happens when capitalism in its most extreme form,
Yeah.
where all the money
Mm.
and knowledge,
Yeah.
and capital,
Yeah.
ends up at one person.
Yeah.
And then the game stops.
Yeah.
Can you raise your hand and then? Yeah, better.
Ooh. So here's the beautiful thing about that, Benjamin, is the word that represents that game, Monopoly,
Yeah.
is illegal. So monopolies are illegal.
Google,
Meaning?
Monopoly.
No, absolutely not. It's not.
No,
They had to sell off shares.
95% of the people use Google as the Google search.
But there's still other options. Popularity doesn't refer to a monopoly. A monopoly. It refers to people preferring a service over another. But there are other services. You have Bing, you have Yahoo.
Yeah, but they're not as good as
Yeah,
Google.
but now what you see with OpenAI and ChatGPT, that is going to replace Google. And how is that possible? And that's what we can get into that will further the conversation. That is possible because of capitalism, because of innovation.
Okay, so in other words,
Yes.
hallo.
Hi.
We gaan die kant op. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, raise your hand. Oh, on the other way around. Yeah. Yeah. Perfect. To the left. To the left. To the left. Left. Yep.
Watch
Perfect.
out, because there's a car.
Perfect. Yeah, a little bit
All right.
more to the left.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Perfect. So you're saying that there are enough safeguards
Yes.
in the capitalist society
Yes.
to prevent the aggregation of money, knowledge, and power into one entity.
Yes. I think so. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, it's not about creating these gigantic conglomerates. That's not what it's about. It's about innovation. Capitalism is only about innovation, equal opportunity to strive for better, for greater.
Boeing is the largest builder of
Airplanes.
airplanes.
Yeah.
You cannot just start a company and say, "Oh, I'm going to compete with Boeing."
Yeah, you absolutely could.
I mean, it's
You could. But it's not about whether it's going to be successful or not. It's about the opportunity to do so. So this is my perfect example, which I love bringing up. NS, yeah, Dutch train system.
Oh, well, we are.
So
okay.
I'll explain.
Yeah.
So NS is technically a private-owned company.
Yeah.
However, the shareholders and decision makers for NS is 100% controlled by the government. 100%
Okay.
of the decision-making shares are owned by the government.
Yeah.
So here's my problem with that. When you have a company that is technically private, but it is not, it is a government-owned company, they're never striving for innovation. They're very comfortable. They don't need to work to have better scheduling, more trains on time, better routes, more options. They do not care because their compensation is covered by the government. There is no other train system that can ever compete with them because it is impossible and it is illegal. So the problem with that is, as soon as you have government intervention in privately owned companies, the innovation dies. They do not care.
Okay, so
That is why it is one of the worst, literally one of the worst operated companies in the country.
So then you're against Trump buying stocks in Nvidia?
No, not at
Huh?
all. No, because he doesn't control anything. Stocks are different than decision-making stocks. Decision-making equity. You have shares of a company and you have board members. Those are two very different things. I'm not against individuals owning parts of companies. I'm against governments owning companies. Just as you see it with every single Russian company that exists. Gazprom is a perfect example. Gazprom is a privately owned company. It is 100% controlled by the Russian government, just as all other businesses are. Yet on paper, they're technically private. Again, zero innovation, zero competition, and zero need to make things better. That's why I brought up the NS example. They do not care if your train is late. They do not care if the railway is under construction and you can't get to your destination. They don't care because they are covered by the government. And nobody can compete with them. So nobody can come and say, okay, I want to bring in a train company that is going to be better than NS, because it is impossible, literally impossible.
Okay.
That's my problem.
So are you also saying that there's, like in Medicaid or healthcare, like basic needs?
Yes.
Everybody wants to live in a house.
Yes.
Be healthy.
Yes. Food, water,
health,
yes.
energy.
Yes.
These are basic stuff.
I agree.
So shouldn't that be government controlled to make sure that everybody has access to the same basic level of stuff?
Sure. Those things I can agree with.
But public transportation is also like a basic
No,
thing.
I don't think so, because it's not public. It's private, technically. It is public transport, but it is still a privately owned company on paper, even though it is owned by the government. I think there are certain caveats to the whole thing, being education and healthcare. That for sure. I think that there has to be government intervention with that, only because it's just basic human rights. It's basic human need and human rights. But that would be to say, no, I agree with you. But that would be to say that why isn't the food industry government controlled either? That's also for profit. Water companies are for profit. They're not NGOs. They are for profit. So if you have certain rights that are and certain rights that aren't, sure, it can exist. The problem is there's certain industries where I think there is a need for government intervention.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so
which already exists.
So
yeah.
So you are.
I agree with the current system. Yeah. In America, the universities get grants from the government. I fully agree with that. But that's not socialism.
But now you're getting
There's
into
subsidies.
now you're getting into a definition question, right?
Well, in what
like
way?
What is how do you call it? What is government intervention? Which government intervention is then allowed? That's a moving target then, right?
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
With socialism. So, right, that's a definition question, because...
But socialism, the objective of socialism is to make everything centralized, which I do not agree with. That's what I'm saying. There are certain aspects of life that need government subsidies, like education, like healthcare, which already exists in America. That's already there. It's already here. The government gives subsidies to universities and the healthcare is completely controlled by the government, 100%. Do I think that is a bad thing? No, I don't. I think that there are certain things that you could argue and say, well, big pharma in the US is responsible for creating life-saving and life-changing drugs because of their profits, which is also true. So again, does that stive down innovation? A bit. It does, because they're not going to want to innovate if they're just suckling on the government's teeth. That's basically what the whole concept of socialism is. And that's why it's dangerous when you start getting into private sectors that are either one, luxury goods, or two, technology, that has no business being subsidized by the government, because they have no need then to innovate, to be better than their competition, to come up with something new. That's my point. Without the need for that, we wouldn't have the technology, for example, that we have today. And that's what I'm saying about Google being a monopoly, even though they're not. Somebody will come along and make a better version of Google. Yeah. We're just living in the now. It's a recency thing, where now Google is the leader, but so was Nokia. Nokia was the biggest phone company in the world for 5 years until Apple innovated and BlackBerry came around and threw them off their throne. Yeah. Oh. So I'm saying the innovation part is more important than anything, and that is only possible via capitalism. Is the only way. An open, free market.
Okay, so next question.
Yes.
When you talk about socialism, are you in favor or in disfavor of like an unemployment money? So you get money from the government if you're unemployed.
I think I'm not against that. I'm against the abuse of that.
Okay.
And I do not think the systems are set up correctly to make sure that there is no abuse.
Okay.
If you are a person who is disabled, or you've had an accident, or you just physically cannot work and it's a real excuse, absolutely I believe in it. However, people take advantage of that system. And I know it firsthand here. I've had friends who've gotten laid off.
Oh, you can... Abuse. Yes, you were talking about...
Yes.
Yeah?
So what I was saying was, I have friends that it's not, I don't think it's necessarily a malicious thing, but unintentionally it is. I've had friends who have been laid off from their jobs. They're perfectly capable working human beings. They have absolutely no issues. However, because they know how the system works, they decide to take 6 months off and get paid by the government. Now, is that fair to people who have never done that? I do not think so. So again, the problem with that is the abuse. It's not the system itself.
So you're not against it per se?
Absolutely not against it at all. I'm against the abuse. And unfortunately, there is a ton of abuse. A ton of abuse, especially in the Netherlands. I mean, there is countless stories of people who are perfectly capable of working, but they just get subsidized and money from the government. And they do that because they do not want to work. You have extremely tight employee-employer laws, which allow people to be sick for 2 years while still getting compensated over a non-existent sickness or a non-existent injury or whatever it may be. And people will continue to abuse that system. And they always have, and they always will. So that is the problem with saying that government subsidy for people who are unemployed or unemployable is not necessarily a bad thing in principle. It's bad because of the abuse. And I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Okay, but that is what you call a socialist idea.
It absolutely is.
To make sure that people who are unemployed have at least some money in order for them preventing living on the streets.
Correct.
So, okay, but that is kind of like a socialist idea.
No, it absolutely is a socialist idea.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, I don't think that there's a problem for people who cannot physically work. In reality, if you are paralyzed from the neck down, you cannot work a job in construction.
Yeah, right.
It is physically impossible. Yeah. Those people who have those ailments or diseases or illnesses or disabilities should be allowed to receive money from the government so they can live their life.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The abuse is where it becomes a problem. And unfortunately, there is a ton of abuse. The government is not in sync or in check with the people who are using that system. And that's where tax dollars go to die.
Oh, yeah.
That is legitimately fraud.
Okay.
And you guys unfortunately, have some allowance for that. You do. I mean, your sister
Yeah.
is a coach
Yeah.
who tries to get people back to work.
Yeah.
And there are people, countless stories of people who are going through normal life things that they just do not want to work, and they
Yeah.
will find every excuse not to, because the government is letting that happen. They are making it possible for them. That I do not agree with. And the more you give, the more people who are going to abuse it. That system already exists in America as well, which is the heart of capitalism. Welfare exists.
Yeah.
Again, also heavily abused. It's extremely abused in America, just as it is here.
Yeah.
And it never won't be abused. So my saying is there needs to be a better system for that,
Yeah.
which does necessarily say that there needs to be more government involvement.
Yeah.
But in a way, that's the only option for it to be feasible,
Yeah.
for it to be fair.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you give a little bit more nuanced.
I think there's nuances with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nuances with everything.
I
So-
don't think anything is black and white. However, I am the biggest perpetuator of free market and capitalism. I
Yeah.
believe that is how we advance as society. I do not think there should be government control where it does not need to be.
Okay. Tariffs.
So-
socialism.
Yes.
Not socialism.
Say again?
Tariffs.
Tariffs.
Capitalists. Socialists. Where does why does the most capitalist country in the world applies this insane tariff policy? Why?
I
What's the
think
point?
that is, again, I don't necessarily agree with
It's a
the
tax.
tariffs. It is a
We
tax.
agree, right?
It
It's a
is. It's
tax.
more government. It's more government control. However, I will say that I don't believe that was the objective behind the tariffs. The objectives
What the fuck was the objective?
the objective was to bring people back to the bargaining table, because according to Mr. Trump, they have been abusing the American buyer.
Okay.
This one? Yeah. That's the
Oh,
only.
over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. So
Yeah,
that
they've
was the
been
only reason is
abusing?
they were abusing the American buyer
Okay.
I mean, you could say American buyer or Americans in general. That was the objective for him, was to bring people back to the bargaining table, not to be more proactive in a government way. Like, the tariffs were just a political chip that you can play so you can
But he
start
didn't
to
say
fuck
that.
with people.
But he didn't say that.
But he can't come out and say that.
Why?
Because it's a little shady. It's a little shady. It's a little twisted.
We're all about transparency.
No, he
blah,
kind of said
blah,
it, though.
all bullshit.
No, he kind of said
We
it.
were
He kind
the
of said it.
Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary,
Yeah.
the baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the most transparent.
I think he did say it,
government
though.
there
He
is.
said that he wanted people to come back to the table to negotiate, which is fair. It wasn't an objective of saying, let's have more government intervention, because he is a person who doesn't believe in that. I mean, you can't be conservative and say that you want more government intervention at all, because that's just not the party. It's just not how it works. But I will say, I think what he did had an objective. It worked, because everybody came to the table. China came to the table. France came to the table. Everybody wanted to negotiate. Maloney came to the table. They all came to the table. So his objective worked. But yes, in principle, tariffs is more government, which is
It's more tax.
It's more tax. It's
and
more
it makes-
government.
and
It's
it
more
makes-
intervention.
and it makes more.
Agreed.
And it makes everything more expensive.
Agreed.
Right?
Well, for now, for the time
What do
being.
you mean for now?
For
No.
the time being. Yeah.
What do you mean for the time being?
Because he's imposing these gigantic tariffs on these companies, which he has then repealed and brought back.
Yeah, for example, the
That's
tariff,
another
the tariff on coffee.
Correct.
But why do it in the first place?
Because he wanted people to come to the negotiation
Yeah,
table.
but he knew that he had to retract the tariffs on coffee.
He knew
because-
that. Yeah,
Huh?
he knew. And he did. He's just saying, hey, I'm the one in control here. And it worked. They all came to the table. They did. China was the most important one. They came to the table and said, listen, everybody's going to suffer from this. We need to figure something out. And that's exactly what the fuck happened. So but what is your opinion? Do you think, are you a true believer in socialism?
I'm a social democrat.
Okay.
So I embrace the core values of liberalism.
Liberalism, yeah.
I agree with that because I believe in freedom. I believe
in democracy.
But
I as well.
I believe in the open-mindedness.
Yeah.
I'm not that dogmatic.
Okay.
I'm more practical.
Sure.
But I do think that we need to make sure that the division between rich and poor, purely from an economic perspective, is not wise.
Yeah.
And that's coming back to what we started. If you have too much concentration of wealth, knowledge, and power, then it will hurt the middle class.
Sure.
And you need a middle class.
What is hurting the middle class per se?
Per se, if they
from a capitalistic standpoint,
if they cannot afford basic stuff.
But I don't think that those markets are necessarily built on capitalism. They may be in a way. However, they're very basic needs that can be covered through already existing systems in the government, including housing, including energy, including heat, including food and water, and healthcare. But what else? There's nothing else a human being needs other than shelter, food, and water. That is it. There's nothing else. Most of what we're talking about and most of the issue, look at that.
What?
There's like green smoke over there. See that? This guy's riding. Anyway, the issue, I think, the real problem is that these industries that we're talking about are not commodity industries. They're
You mean iPhones?
Yes. Yes. You don't need an iPhone to survive. You just don't. You don't need a phone to survive. However, there's even government programs that give phones away. Again, they give away smartphones, not iPhones, but they give away smartphones. So my point is exactly that, is these are not commodity industries. Hello? These are not commodity industries. These are luxury industries.
And to quote Trump,
to quote him,
a girl doesn't need 5 baby dolls.
Exactly.
And it doesn't need 10 pence.
But that's the point, is everything that we're discussing has nothing to do with commodities. So my problem is saying that who would be against innovation for everything else? It just doesn't make sense. The only way it's possible is through capitalism. Otherwise, there is no growth. There is no drone. There is no iPhone. Right. There is no microphone. There's nothing. There's nothing. Really. Oh.
Whoa.
Cool.
Holy moly.
Yeah. I hope it captures.
Holy moly.
It'll capture. Wow.
Whoa. Whoa. Now don't shit on me.
Don't shit on me.
Whoa, beautiful.
Cool. But that's what I'm saying. It is, in essence, you need capitalism to stimulate growth and innovation. That's the most important thing. Without it, there is no growth, there is no innovation. And I don't see any problems with that. I see a problem with it in the commodities industry, where there are always government subsidies.
Okay,
always.
One question. So do you think that the profits of pharmaceuticals need to be capped?
I think the problem, and that's why all these conversations get brought up, is because of that industry. I think that they have a power and they abuse it. I fully agree with that. There's no reason that they should make the cost of insulin $800 a shot or whatever it is, versus if you can get it in Europe for $2. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. That is a problem that I fully accept and fully agree with, and that is technically a problem with capitalism.
The speed in which you can move labor is totally not in any context anymore in which the speed in which you can move money.
Yes.
So money will always look for revenue, right? Gain.
Yes.
Gain.
Gain.
But it's there is no relationship anymore between me as an investor studying numbers
Sure.
or studying the innovation,
Sure.
or it's just bots
Yeah.
looking at graphs
Yeah.
and buying when a graph goes up and sell it when it goes down.
Yeah.
But there's no maybe I'm too old fashioned.
No. I get what you're saying, but in a way that is innovation, and that is possible for everybody. It is that the beautiful thing is it boils down to freedom of opportunity. That's it. That's really all it is. It's freedom for opportunity. You're exchanging goods and services for goods and services. And that is the basis of capitalism. And that's what I was explaining off camera, was civilization was built on capitalism. You exchange a good or a service for a good or a service. There is absolutely zero need for intervention from a third-party entity that is going to tell you if that is okay or not. There was never a need for that. Government only exists because of social contracts. Social contracts being...
A little bit lower. No, yeah, where's the end? And then, a little bit lower.
That's good, I think.
Yeah.
Eye level.
Okay.
Government is only there for social contracts. Meaning the government will protect you, which it doesn't fucking do, by the way. Ever. Literally ever. Maybe in some cases it does, but in other cases, and by other cases, I mean 99.9% of the time, it's not actually protecting you. That is the only actual necessity of government, is protection. Is saying, if something happens to you, we will punish the person who did wrong by you, and we will try to help you to our best ability. That is government.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it is completely unnecessary. And why I say that is my example before. You have people who started farming. Other people came around who could not farm. They created a settlement. Maybe this guy is a great woodworker. So he says, okay, you're gonna pay me in food, so I'm gonna eat your food, and I'll build your house. It's an exchange of services.
Yeah.
And that is literally the foundation of civilization.
Yeah.
There was no government. It was an exchange, an honest exchange of saying, I will give you X if you give me Y. That is literally the basis of capitalism, which started society. There is no need for government intervention because it just stagnates growth. There is no growth when the government controls it. There has been no successful long-term society that is socialist or communist. It has never been successful. And the reason for that is because even in these systems, there are still elite parties. The dictator controls the communist government. There's oligarchs in Russia.
Unions.
There's unions, but there's a union leader.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is these systems aren't set up. They're at the end of the day, there's always going to be wealth and equity extraction from a party who is saying that they are trying to make everything equal when in reality it's never going to be equal. But it's a fake promise. It's a lie. The people who operate in social systems, you guys have a king that does nothing and gets paid hundreds of thousands, if not millions of euros.
Yeah.
And he does nothing. So again, there is always going to be wealth extraction from social or communist societies. So it's bullshit either way. You might as well even the playing field and say anybody can do it if you're smart enough, if you work hard enough, if you have the gumption to do so, do it. We will give you the equal opportunity. I think that is more important than anything else. And that only exists in a free market capitalist society.
Yeah.
The little guy can always beat the big guy.
Yeah.
And like your first example was Google.
To the middle. Yeah, Google?
Your first example,
It's too much to win. Yeah, let's try.
Little win. Your first example is Google. OpenAI is going to replace Google. Google held the reins for 25 years. When Google was, what, 97? 99? Google held the reins for 25 plus years. And now competition has come and Google is becoming less popular.
Yeah.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
There is no way of going around. If you're smart, this way?
Yeah.
If you're smart, you can buy up your competition. You can actually compete and try to create an existing product. Facebook, for example, they own one of the most successful social media companies in Instagram versus a dying Facebook.
Yeah.
Yet now TikTok comes along and becomes extremely popular.
Yeah.
And that is, again, only possible by capitalism. There would not be a TikTok. There would be Facebook only forever. And they would always be around because nobody is competing for those customers if it is controlled by the government. Wholeheartedly.
So, last point,
Yes.
because that was off camera, I think.
Yeah.
Capped profits of pharmaceuticals.
Yes. That is the only problem I have with commodities industry. Technically, it should be considered a commodity because healthcare should be a right to all people.
Okay.
That is the only real problem I have with it. Is something that, same with food. If there was companies out there that
but
was
back to the
said,
point.
yeah,
So,
no, it's the same.
So, but capping profits
I
of
think,
pharmaceuticals?
I don't know about capping profits. I would say that life-saving or necessary medication should not be for profit. I do not believe that.
What my problem is that they're making use of fundamental science that is done on universities, which is paid by governments.
True.
And they're making use of it and they stamp it and they sell it.
Yes and no.
So,
yes and no. But yes. Essentially yes, but also in a way not. The problem is when you're if you're overpricing medication that shouldn't be expensive, I think that is just fucking evil.
Right.
And that's not to say that is well, it is technically against capitalism because they're just doing it for profit.
Yeah.
However, the caveat to that is these companies are also using those profits to come up with better medication.
1 minute left.
1 minute. So yeah, I think in the end, yes, I think if you're going to do that, it fits under the standards of capitalism. However, it's fucking evil because you're withholding things that people need to live.
Yeah.
Like if somebody started a water company and they booted out all the other water companies and they made water $100 a bottle, that is fucking just evil.
Yeah.
However, still fits in the structure of capitalism, which I wholeheartedly agree with. And there's always going to be people who will come around and do it better. That's the point. So right now, it's bad.
Yeah.
Maybe in the future it's not.
And that's a very good last remark.
Very good.
You can,
we did it.